Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally, and I am wondering what would you make with these wooden items that I got at my dump. Now, this challenge is taking something wooden and flipping it into something lovely, so check out how awesome these 4 items came out. My husband brought me home from the dump this week this little tiny child's wooden box. Now, somebody had taken a black marker and had drawn little pictures all over each side and the top and the bottom, and it is absolutely sweet, but obviously they were done with it since they put it at the dump. So I decided that I was going to use this pretty robin's egg blue paint that I had pre-mixed on another project a while back and had quite a bit left over. So I began by giving this box 2 coats of this. Now this is more of a latex paint, so it is not going to need any wax or a finish on top. And I did leave the interior as it was. That was perfectly fine. Now I had printed on rice paper from thegraphicsfairy.com this pretty little label, and my French is deplorable, but I am pretty sure this says soap of a gardenia. Now I don't have gardenia, but I am going to go ahead and just wet with my paintbrush around the edge, organically tear this label out, and then I am simply going to Mod Podge that onto the top of the dome of this little tiny trunk. I do love decoupaging with rice paper. It just is so easy to work with, a lot less wrinkles, goes on nice, doesn't tear easily, so that's kind of my go-to. And I have no problem with Mod Podge. It works perfectly fine for most of the projects that I'm working on. And then once this is fully dry, I am going to take my distressing ink and go around mostly the edges of the trunk and especially the edges of the label to make this look a little bit more vintage. I didn't want to sand anything back because I was afraid some of the child's writing might come through with that black marker. So once I have this good and vintage looking, then begins the fun part. Using the label as my inspiration, I went into my stash to see what I had for florals, and I knew that I had some Lily of the Valley that I thought would look lovely and mimic that label, as well as some purple lavender and some little piece here that I got from the dollar store and bits and pieces of some greenery. So I am just literally taking my hot glue gun and I am layering these on the front where there's a little bit of a lip on the edge, and I am making a little bouquet glued to the front of this box, and I think that this is absolutely adorable. I added a little bit of moss and I added a little lace bow to this, and that was it for the exterior. And then for the interior, I took that same distressing ink around the interior top edge, and then I went into the stash of soap that I just made a couple of videos back, and I just filled the little box with these sweet handmade soaps and a little piece of lace. And then just for display purposes, I will show you at the end of the video what this looks like because it goes with a couple of other items. And the second item is this picture of peppers in a green wooden frame that I got on the Good Table at my dump. I did look it up just in case it had value. It is $12 on eBay. So I decided that that was certainly not anything I was interested in selling. And so I took the whole thing apart and cleaned it really good. And then I just took this wooden frame and painted this same pretty robin's egg blue, real pale blue, all over this with 2 coats of paint, and just finished that with some wet distressing because in this case I actually wanted a little bit of the hunter green to come through because it is going to match both the blue and the green with the item that I want to frame. So that was a very simple and easy thing to do, except for the amount of staples I had to take out of this. Once that was dry and distressed, I put that all back together with a print that I have on cardstock that I have had in my stash for years. I absolutely love this, and it fit perfectly in the mat, and it goes so nicely with these colors. It was as if it was made for this. And personally, I like the little nest of eggs a whole lot better than the peppers, but you know, that's just me. And so here are these two items together in my living room on the table. So you will have to let me know what you think about the transformation of these two wooden items and what you think about this pretty pale blue color. I absolutely love it, and I am so glad that I added the florals to the front of the box and the soap. I think that it just came out really sweet. So I'd love to know what you think about that before I go on to item number 3. Please remember to hit like and comment on this to help my video. And also, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would. Before I move on to the next item, I just want to remind you today is a collaboration with these lovely ladies, and we are flipping wood items, and there is a playlist in my description box for all of the other creators who have joined into this challenge. So after you've watched my video, please hop over to that playlist and enjoy. Now that takes me on to my next item. Now this is one of those wooden paper boxes that you see on old desks, and it has all the little cubby holes in it, and I actually really like it. It was pretty filthy, so I cleaned it really good and decided that I wanted to paint the exterior and leave the interior this beautiful wood to give it a refresh. So I'm using that same pretty blue paint, and I am giving this 2 full coats, and I am very carefully painting just the front edges to leave the boxes wood, and I am going to go back and clean that up and sand that a little bit at the end anyways, but just to get that the way that I am hoping that it will look. If you like these little cubbies, I did one similar recently with a hedgehog, so you can check that out a couple of videos back. It was adorable, sold the same day. Now, once I have 2 coats of this blue paint on this box and it is dry, I took the distressing ink and distressed primarily the corners, the edges, and just a little here and there, and then took my finger sander and decided to just give it a little bit more of a distressing down to the wood, especially in the front of the boxes where there was any paint that had gotten into the box, to give this the kind of vintage distressed look that I love. I thought about decoupaging a napkin or a picture on the top of this, or adding, you know, some letters or something, and I could always do that, but I opted actually to keep this plain because I really just love the combination of the blue with the wood. But let me know what you think. Would you prefer it with the butterflies here and there and the little florals from this napkin, or would you leave it as it is, just in the blue? So this is the vignette that I put together of these 3 wooden items. I have one more item that I'm going to do that is not part of this vignette. And initially, I just put it on the table in my living room here to show you these 3 pieces together. I think they're beautiful. And then I made room in my foyer and decided to keep them because I absolutely love them so much. So I am going to keep this entire vignette together. And then that takes me on to my final project. And the inspiration for this one is this beautiful napkin that I picked up on Etsy, I believe. I got a whole pack of different variety ones, and I love these colors. It's not something that generally goes in my home, but I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit more colorful. So I am going to take this wooden crate that also came from the dump, and I am going to start by watering down some paint and trying to mix a red-orange color. I know I'm not going to get it to be perfect, but at least if I can get it somewhat close to match this color in the napkin, and then watered down paint on the edges of the 2 sides of this crate. And then I am going to, once that's dry, take Just take some stamps I got on Amazon some time ago, and I'm just going to stamp this little florals all across both sides of that to make a little garden. And then I am going to paint the other two sides of the crate white. And then I am just going to use some, once this is dry, some Mod Podge. I'm going to peel back the one ply that has the print on the napkin, and I am just going to Mod Podge the napkin. Opted to just do this on one side, and that way leave the other slatted side completely wooden. And that way in the fall, if somebody wanted to, say, put some pumpkins in this crate or something like that, they could do that and not have it look quite so springy. But certainly if you're doing this for yourself, you might want to use both sides of the napkin and put the same image on both of the slatted sides. Once you're finished doing the Mod Podge and getting the napkin down, you do want to gently Mod Podge over the entire thing and then let it completely dry. Once that's completely dry, then I do take my scissors and separate across the splits in the slats there, and then just take a sanding block and sand. Now I like the finger sander for the top, bottom, and sides of this, but when it comes to the interior sections of the slats, I think the best option is an emery board or even a toenail sanding emery board. Those work really awesome to take away the rest of this. And then it is up to you whether you want to add some kind of a distressing or something to this. Now, I decided, since this is so white and the sides are so dark, that I actually wanted to add some white wax over that reddish orange color paint on the sides. And then once I was finished with that, I added a little bit of distressing ink to the white napkin because I prefer things just a little bit more vintage looking, but you can skip these steps if you like it as is. Well, I am honestly not crazy about it, all that work, but I am actually going to go and paint the sides white. I'm going to add some dark antiquing wax, and I think I like it so much better. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. Thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget to check out the playlist, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.